Welcome to Department of Distance and Continuing Education, University of Delhi, Master of Business Administration, MBA, Semester 1, Core Course MBA FT 6106, Human Resource Management. Lesson 4: Learning, Training and Development, Process and Methods. 4.1 Learning Objectives. To understand basic interrelated concepts like learning, training and development. To understand different applicable learning theories. To know and learn to apply different available T&D techniques. To understand the concept of succession planning and the transitioning T&D in the virtual world. The application-based approach is followed by adopting activity, doing method and case study approaches followed to ensure a better understanding of the concept of the learner and develop his problem-solving skills. 4.2 Introduction. The chapter first discusses the basic understanding of the concepts like difference between learning, training and development. The learner may have layman idea about these concepts. But before understanding different aspects of training and development, it's important to learn to differentiate between these concepts. This lesson would help the learner to comprehend the different learning theories and its applications. Learner could differentiate between different techniques of training and know which is the most suitable one to apply under a particular situation. One would learn about ADDIE model and the TNA concept. The lesson will develop the understanding on the changing role of T&D approaches in the e-learning environment. The last part of the lesson discusses contemporary issues like e-training and e-development concepts. The latest research on the concept of succession planning is shared with the readers, and it is discussed that how succession planning can be achieved. To gauge the understanding of the reader on the subject, the relevant case study is shared towards the end of the chapter. 4.3 Basic Concepts. The concepts like training, learning and development appears to be synonymous to each other. But there is actually a wide difference across these terms. The differences can be understood by comprehending the meaning of these concepts. These terminologies are explained as follows. 4.3.1 Learning. Learning refers to permanent change in the behavior of an individual or an organization as a result of an experience. There are three aspects of learning: change in behavior, permanent change, and experience. Learning involves changing of the status quo position, which can be through acquiring new skills or changing of the existing way of doing things. The change is not brief or temporary, but is imbibed. It becomes a normal course of reflex action of an individual. The third aspect is experience. This change in behavior can be after experiencing a better way of doing things or new skills that can be acquired by way of learning by doing approach, or a mere observation and reading can also create learning. There are different perspectives on learning, but over years it has emerged as a long-term orientation that emerges as a result of various formal and informal on-the-job and outside-job experiences. Learning may not happen just through formal training or seminars or workshop programs, but it can happen through informal interactions and through different work and personal life experiences. It is also not a concept that is limited to the individual level, but learning can be acquired at the team level as well as at the organizational level. The changing nature of work requires individuals, teams, and organizations to have continuous learning. Increased customer demands, changing technology, and increasing complexity of the jobs require learning to be a continuous part of the system. Learning can cause change in cognitive skills, behavioral outcomes, and affective results like attitudinal and motivational changes. 4.3.2 Training. Unlike learning, which can be voluntary, training is a planned effort by an organization towards enhancement of current knowledge, on-the-job skills, and changing of the existing behavioral patterns of the employees so that they can be successful in their current jobs. In other words, training is a practical education imparted to enable better functioning on the job. Training has more focused outcomes and is short-term oriented. Training is not an intuitive process. There is a science involved in designing a right training program. Training, when designed systematically, yields positive results. Effective training occurs when employees learn required knowledge, skills, and attitude, KSAs, to do the job in the best possible way. Research shows that employees have a favorable attitude towards training if they are included in its designing process, or when they voluntarily choose it rather than made to attend under compulsion. Training also adds value only when employees get the opportunity to apply the newly learned skills and behaviors on their jobs. If trainees continue doing what they were doing earlier, then the entire training gets redundant and is easily forgotten. Transfer of training is a crucial problem faced after the training programs, wherein the training acquired is not applied to the job. Post-training climate, particularly supervisory support, determine the transfer of training. Peer support also has a positive effect on the transfer of training to the job. In the post-training environment, constant coaching, knowledge repositories, and debriefs can be used as powerful tools of reinforcing learned training to the job. 4.3.3 Development. Development focuses on the personal and professional growth and is not restricted to the enhancement of job-related skills. Development involves making the maximum benefit out of the available opportunities. It is neither restricted to a formal institutional setup and nor time-bound. It can happen anytime, anywhere, and at any place. It focuses on enhancing employee and not just his job performance. One can say that both training and development leads to learning. These concepts are different yet connected to each other. These three concepts are complementary to each other. Training is a mechanical phenomena, whereas development involves changing the thinking, actions, and behavior. Development is a lifelong concept. Training and learning are also different concepts. Every training may not lead to learning, and learning can happen without any training also. But learning is a desired outcome of training. Figure 1 explains the understanding of basic concepts. that how development and training leads to learning. In text questions, first, dash concept is restricted to the enhancement of job-related skills. Second, training and development involves learning, true or false. Third, KSA stands for knowledge, dash and dash. A. Skills and attitude. B. Self-actualization and attitude. C. Skills and aptitude. Or D. Self-development and aptitude. Fourth, learning can happen without training, true or false. Fifth, dash of training is a crucial problem. 4.4 Learning theories. Different theories have evolved over a period of time as given by different researchers from time to time. Some of the most prominent learning theories are discussed as follows. 4.4.1 Cognitive learning theory. Learning is dominated by the thinking process that takes place inside the mind of an individual. Jean Piaget has an important contribution to the cognitive learning theory. According to him, learning is a process of assimilation, accommodation, and equilibration. Assimilation involves acquisition of knowledge into existing mental structures. Accommodation is altering the existing mental structures that contradict with the new experience. Finally, reaching to the stage where there is no conflict between new and existing knowledge is called as equilibration. It believes in the formal education system and the requirement of professional help and assistance. In this process, learning is to be internalized by memorizing the content and reproducing the syllabus on demand that has been taught to the student. It involves acquiring, internalizing, storing, and retrieval of the information by the student. 4.4.2 Behaviorism Learning Theory. The theory involves discussion on classical conditioning and operant conditioning. As per classical conditioning approach, the natural reflex action can be reinforced as a response to a particular stimulus. This theory evolves from the experiment conducted by Ivan Pavlov on the dogs, where they were conditioned to salivate at the ringing of a bell. The second is the operant conditioning that is based on the belief that reward can reinforce a positive behavior. Skinner studied the behavior of rats where they learned that pressing lever in the box would give them food. The operant conditioning approach is based on the use of rewards and punishments to control the majority of human behaviors. 4.4.3 Social Learning Theory. Albert Bandura pioneered the concept of social learning theory that he developed after studying the behavior of children. He observed in his Bobo doll experiment that children can be influenced by just observing the behavior of others. Bandura extended the behavioral theory by adding the concept of observational learning. Children will be most likely imitating the behavior that they see is positively reinforced. Attention, retention, reproduction, and motivation are the four components of social learning theory. Many of the daily behaviors may not be noted. Attention is the foremost thing for imitation to take place. After observing the behavior, it has to be retained and remembered. Every behavior learned could not be imitated. The modeled behavior needs to be demonstrated. The last is the motivation. If there is a reward associated with the demonstrated behavior, then it is most likely to be performed. 4.4.4 Experiential Learning Theory. David Kolb gave the concept of experiential learning theory. It is the combination of grasping and transforming the experience that results in knowledge creation. Kolb proposed the four elements of an experiential learning cycle: concrete learning, reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, and active experimentation. The first is the encountering stage, where the person experiences a new situation or may reinterpret an existing notion based on a new experience. Reflective involves pondering about what is already known. It reflects on incongruency between existing knowledge and new knowledge. Based on the experience, the person may form a new idea or change his existing thinking, leading to abstract conceptualization. Finally, the new knowledge is applied by the learner in the active experimentation stage. Figure 2 explains the experiential learning cycle. 4.4.5 Happenstance Learning Theory. The theory proposed by John Trumbull states that the human behavior is based on many learning experiences arising from both planned and unplanned situations that the individuals encounter. Some of the situations may be within the control of an individual and some may be out of control. The consequences of these different situations are difficult to predict and thus called happenstance. From the education perspective, theory suggests that every child has their own starting point. Every individual can have their own level of success bar. Individual achievement needs to be focused on over group achievement. Students learn best from their own actions, and learning should be an enjoyable process. 4.5 Training Need Identification TNA. Identification of the needs for which training program is required is the very first step of designing any training program. It involves three components: job task analysis, organizational analysis, and person analysis. These three components are explained as follows. 4.5.1 Job task analysis. This involves determining critical requirements of a job and understanding different cases required for performing that job. Training designing process involves task analysis to determine what training program is best suitable for the job. Humans cannot retain everything. There are limitations to one's cognitive skills. This step enables trainers to know what is required to be known and remembered by the trainees so that the focus could be done on those areas. This also requires team task analysis that identifies different coordination patterns among the work groups. This will also help in deciding which set of group of people should need to attend the training together. 4.5.2 Organizational Analysis. This step involves determining the preparedness of the organization to be able to conduct the training program. It refers to analyzing the culture, strategic priorities, and resources that can be provided by the organization. Training has to ensure that organizational needs are addressed. This would require determining the organization's core competencies and knowing the critical jobs and functions in the organization. Social supporting environment also need to be examined for the effectiveness of the training program. There should be a learning supporting environment for the training to be successful. 4.5.3 Person Analysis. This finally involves deciding if the employee is having the required skills and knowledge for performing the assigned task. What are the skills that he is lacking and should form the basis of the training program? Many demographic variables also need to be considered, such as age, diversity in the organization, etc. Training can vary from an individual to individual. Age is considered to be positively associated with the training time and negatively correlated with the training performance. Sufficient time must be given to the aged employees, and more structured and self-paced training models might work for the older employees. In text questions, identify theories associated with each example. Sixth, mother rewards his child with chocolates after he cleans the room. Child starts cleaning the room on his own every time his mother is around to get the chocolate. Seventh, a child is told that white object in the kitchen is a cooker and should not be touched as it is hot. As the child walks towards the next white object in the room, which is fridge, he remembers that white objects are hot and should not be touched. Eighth, a younger child imitates the dancing style of his elder brother on seeing that he is being appreciated by others for his dance form. Ninth, John was used to working in an offline environment and always thought that the job can never be performed remotely. During COVID-19, he learnt to work online effectively and now prefers to do the remote working. 4.6 ADDIE model. Before we understand different training and development techniques that are adopted by managers across different industries, let's first understand the ADDIE model. ADDIE framework stands for analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. This model enables managers to follow a consistent training and development process. Using this model, managers can also monitor and evaluate the effectiveness of the program in fulfilling various learning objectives. Details on each phase of this model are as follows. 4.6.1 Analyze. This stage involves setting of the learning objectives. Based on prior training programs, also the learning modules can be designed. This involves determining the skill sets required for the job, existing knowledge level of the people, and the resources that can be provided by the organization. 4.6.2 Design. This phase sets the tone for the entire training program. Based on the learning objectives, the training strategy is decided. Method to be followed for the delivery of the content, type of material to be gathered are the decisions to be made during this stage. 4.6.3 Development. Once the layout of the training program is set, next step involves developing the lectures, content, and required training material. A small training test can also be done to check the working of the program and its effectiveness in achieving the desired goals. 4.6.4 Implementation. This involves implementing the designed and developed training program. Any gaps between what is desired and what is actually achieved are identified and analyzed for future improvements. 4.6.5 Evaluation. The learning problems faced by the trainees and the new learning opportunities are identified and analyzed during this stage. The main purpose of this phase is to refine and improvise the future training programs. Figure 3. It explains the ADDIE model: analyze, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. 4.7 Training and development methods. There is a wide variety of methods to choose from the training and development purposes, but the adoption of these methods is context specific and need to be adjusted to the specific needs of the target organization. Some of these techniques are discussed below. 4.7.1 Coaching or Mentoring. Coaching is a very effective technique for modifying managerial behaviors in a direct and personalized manner. It is a customized training program given on a one-to-one basis and over a period of time. It is generally given in helping out employees with specific problems or to prepare the employee for any new work assignment. This technique is generally used for a continuous and generalized training program. 4.7.2 Lecture. There is a single flow of information as it is transmitted from the instructor to the learner. Learning is dependent upon the knowledge and experience of the trainer. However, this method puts a cognitive burden on the learner. The knowledge is to be acquired, integrated, and retained. The pace of every learner also varies from person to person. An improvisation of this method is lecture-cum-demonstration method, in which the lecturer re-emphasizes information by putting the same into action. 4.7.3 Modeling. In this method, the new behavior is acquired by observing others performing the same task. Videotapes can be used for imparting instructions to the trainees. This helps in enhancing the confidence level among trainees. This technique also enables old learners to understand how to perform the task. 4.7.4 Active Participation. This is like a trial and error approach where the learner learns by actually performing the task rather than just observing someone performing it. This approach is based on self-discovery and learners can learn at their own pace. 4.7.5 Role-playing. Trainees are supposed to assume a character and play like that character in a particular scenario or a series of scenarios. It is quite an effective method in changing the attitude of people by encouraging brainstorming. It is found to be very effective when the subjects take the point of view opposite to their own and express this opposing viewpoint to others. Role-playing is often used to teach skills such as negotiating, grievance handling, buying and selling, and effective communication. 4.7.6 Job Rotation. The employee is made to experience working on other jobs while he is still working on a given task or a project. This can be effective for career development of the employee and can assist in the employee's quick promotion. This training method also helps in reducing job burnout and leads to effective management of existing staff members. This also helps in dealing with the employee absenteeism. When an employee is on leave, other employee trained on the same job can take over. This can also help employees realize his different capabilities and areas of interest. But this type of technique might not be suitable to all type of industries, especially where highly specialized workforce is required. Employees may also feel disgruntled and overburdened with the frequent job rotations. 4.7.7 Simulation. The real-life conditions are imitated and trainees are repeatedly made to have a multi-sensory experience of this simulated environment. It is used when there is a high cost involved and the real-life task is risky to handle. It involves mirroring of a real-life situation. It might be suitable for industries such as aviation sector, training of pilots, driving schools, and medical industry, training surgeons. This technique minimizes errors and can be used in creating a team of experts. 4.7.8 Case Study Method. It is a narrative description of real-life incidents relating to the organization. Trainees are required to propose a number of viable solutions to a given case. This is used for developing analytical, reasoning, and problem solving skills. This method can be used to boost learners' motivation level. This method requires low cost and trainee need to have the core knowledge of the subject. 4.7.9 Game-based training. It is an interactive approach of training. Trainees are made to compete in various decision-making tasks that help them in finding alternative options and also experience the consequences of their actions. Such techniques enable faster and longer retention of knowledge. Trainees, while learning skills, are also able to apply the knowledge at the same time and so learn by doing approach. This makes training a fun process and keeps the employees engaged in the training process. For example, taking quiz sessions in between of the lectures or making employees compete on simulators. This method helps in improving teamwork, leadership style, and communication skills while playing the games. 4.7.10 Internship. The trainees learn to do work on the job but with certain restrictions and with less or no pay. It involves giving a practical work related to the student's field of study. It helps in the career development of the students. Students get the benefit of insights into real work experience, constant support and guidance from the mentors, constant feedback, develop professional contacts, and get new experiences and work skills. 4.7.11 Sensitivity training. Sensitivity training is also known as laboratory or T-group training. In this, an unstructured group is created to make people aware of themselves and their impact on others. Participants are encouraged to freely communicate their thoughts and feelings in an open, unstructured manner. It helps employees to be more sensitive and work more harmoniously and responsibly. It makes the trainees aware of constructive and correct emotional actions and behavioral patterns. 4.7.12 Apprenticeship training. It is a combination of classroom and on-the-job training where the trainee, called the apprentice, works under the guidance of a skilled instructor. Traditionally, it is used in skilled jobs such as those of plumber, welder, craftsman, carpenter, etc. It is a long-term method of training aimed at preparing the workforce to meet the growing need of the industry. 4.7.13 Understudy. In this, the superior gives training to his subordinate as his understudy or assistant. The subordinate learns through experience and observation. The main objective of this method is to prepare the subordinate to handle full responsibilities in case the supervisor is absent or leaves the organization. 4.7.14 Vestibule training. It is near the job training that takes place away from the factory or production area on machinery or equipment that closely resembles the actual ones used on the job. Experienced trainers are responsible for upskilling the employees and training them. The main advantage of this training method are that it is effective when many people are to be retained for the same job. It removes the pressure on employees to produce while learning, disturbances to production at the actual workplace is minimized, and worker can get over their nervousness at work before they join the actual workplace. In-text questions. Suggest a most suitable training and development technique in the following cases. 10. For the training of law students. 11th. Doctoral student working on a research project. 12th. A newly joined employee in a hotel where his job is to keep the rooms tidy and taking care of the need of arriving customers. 13. Senior teacher has to impart training session to a newly joined teacher in the college. 14. Learning to develop an animated cartoon movie. 15. Training surgeons for difficult surgeries. 4.8. Evaluation of training and development. This is the most crucial stage of any training program that determines the overall effectiveness of the program. It refers to the systematic assessment of the fact that training objectives are achieved and is able to enhance the job performance. Through evaluation of training and development programs, organization can know if an alternative training program is required to be designed. Evaluation provides feedback to the trainees, trainers and the organization and helps in deciding if the program can be replicated to the other organizations or employees. This effectiveness of the training and development program can be assessed through the reactions of the employees, feedback survey, understanding acquired by them, small test after the session, changed behavior on the job, and outcomes, higher sales. Most of the organization use trainees' reaction and learning as a tool to decide the effectiveness of the training program. Experimental design can be used in training evaluation, in which trainee performance can be compared with the performance of others who were not trained. The experimental group consists of employees who received training, and the control group consists of employees who did not receive any training or intervention. Members of both groups should be drawn randomly. At the conclusion of training, performance of both groups is compared, and if performance of the experimental group is improved substantially, the training program may be rated effective. 4.9. E-training and e-development. Training and development programs have expanded beyond the traditional classroom. The just-in-time technology now requires providing just-in-time training. Cost effectiveness, timely availability of content, and flexibility are the major drivers of e-training programs. The term e-training refers to training involving technology. It can be face-to-face or even purely online. Augmented reality AR and virtual reality VR technology like 3D objects, videos, sounds and images can be applied in training of aviation personnel. For example, pilots while being in air may encounter technical glitches and would need immediate just-in-time learning tools. In such scenarios, learning on demand (LOD), instruction manuals containing 3D images and videos of the aircraft can be very useful. E-content and different applications can enable the government to aware the citizens about development of smart cities. Applications ranging from agriculture, education, to healthcare and safety can be shared with people. E-training can encourage e-governance, where people can be encouraged for online payment of taxes, online documentation work, online bill payments, etc. Since 1995, the enrollment of students has multiplied in the distance education courses. Research shows that course content, video size, age of the participant, and environment simulator are the factors having a great influence on the online training program. Satisfaction of participant increase when the content is in narrative form rather than being in numbers or a technical format. Young individuals are also found to recall content over a web module more than the older participants. The e-content should be presented with a large video display, limited use of colored text, and large letter size. The philosophy to be followed while designing e-content is less is more and keep it simple. It is the support of the ICTs to learning and decision making that contributes significantly to the process of development. Technology enables both economic and social development by providing new opportunities to people. ICTs are ignored by the people who are fearful of the technology. Rather, an integrated approach is required. Integrated approach requires identification of development objectives, identification of new information required to meet the development objectives, and identification of the crucial role of ICTs in meeting the information requirements. There are benefits of cost reduction, efficiency, and transparency gains through e-development. 4.10 Career Development and Succession Planning. Succession planning is the process of selecting the employees to fill higher level positions in the organization. The process involves identification of the need of the senior managers, then shortlisting the most suitable candidate to fill the senior manager position, and ensuring that relevant core competencies are developed in the candidate for the job. The process provides job successor for the important executive positions from the existing pool of candidates. A sophisticated succession plan contains various components such as having a clear vision, a proper business plan, assessment of current situation, developing potential candidates, and implementing the plan. An effective succession plan can reduce the turnover rate, fulfill the career development aspirations of the employees, and can provide the competitive advantage to the organization. Leadership development and succession planning are two sides of the same coin. Leadership learning and development should be coupled with succession planning, as this can create a flow of talented successors from early stage of career of employees to being senior leaders and even headship. In United Kingdom, it was observed that there were leadership shortage in schools. Poor confidence among teachers, reluctance in taking up new professional assignments, and lack of career advice were identified reasons for restricting teachers from their career advancement and achieving leadership progression. Culture-related factors like teamwork, trust, commitment, and leadership support encourages leadership successor within schools. Teamwork needs to be created. A distributed leadership approach and job rotation can help in succession planning. Techniques like coaching, role modeling can also assist in the professional development of teachers. The leadership development program should fit the organization's culture and serve the long-term and short-term objectives of the organization. Managers can follow following 6 steps for a continuous leadership development model in the organization. 4.10.1 Evaluate the organization. The current state of the organization needs to be evaluated. This involves understanding the policy, past practices, strategy, assessment of current resources, and knowing about the culture of the organization. It has to be assessed if the right employees are available within the organization for leadership roles and how their potential can be fully developed. 4.10.2 Assess the organization's status in development of resources. This involves getting an idea about the financial resources and the priorities of the organization. How much time the organization is willing to give for the leadership development programs. 4.10.3 Assess current opportunities. Staff should be provided different opportunities to stand out for leadership roles by encouraging them in different work groups and committees of the organization. Involve staff in the revision of companies' policies and procedures. A staff meeting could be arranged where different individuals can present their case studies. A culture of continuous learning has to be developed. 4.10.4 Identify potential staff to mentor. This refers to finding out the employee who has aspirations and potential to grow in his career. Identifying the person who can lead and bear the burden of the organizational responsibilities. This also involves assessing the value of the investment. The cost of training or coaching the existing member must be compared to recruitment of an outside person for the job. 4.10.5 Identify training gaps. There should be 5 important traits in any case leader. Leaders need to be aware about their changes in their external environment, seek out simple solutions to big problems, have a creative thinking, respect other team players, and should drive engagement and commitment towards the organization, and must have complete knowledge and experience to handle the situation. The training gaps based on these identified 5 traits can be identified and filled. 4.10.6 Develop an integrated program. A comprehensive plan based on the cost assessment, judgment about the existing resources of the organization should be developed. If required, a sponsor for the program or the champion who can help out in the implementation of the leadership program should be hired. 4.11 Case Study. Go India Airlines started its operations in the year 2016. After COVID-19 pandemic and the rising turbine fuel has greatly damaged the profitability of the enterprise. Recently, the airline is also in news for maintenance issues. Frequently, engineering-related concerns are being reported in the headlines. Ministry of State ordered a special audit of the airline to do a spot check on the airline. The audit results found that there is a deficiency of sufficient and suitably qualified engineers and experienced manpower. To add to the existing problems, the competition has increased in the industry with the upcoming new airlines. The attrition rate for the existing engineers and maintenance staff has been going up for the airline. Employees are lining up for the interviews with the new airlines, expecting not the salary hike, but better growth opportunities. There are 2 categories of engineers being employed by the airline, Category A and B. Category A staff is cheaper and is responsible for simpler tasks like refueling, tire change, handling cockpit defects, etc. Category B engineers do major maintenance tasks in an aircraft and are paid higher. Category A employees are now demanding higher wages and better opportunities. The engineers are facing extreme burnout as they are working on double shifts at lower wages. This is creating safety concerns for the airline as maintenance and overhauling of the aircraft is compromised. Please suggest the following. First, suggest which type of training and development methods can be adopted by the airline. Second, which learning theory is best suitable under the current situation. Third, before organizing a T&D plan, what are the factors that should be considered by the airline? Fourth, what can be the best method followed for re-evaluating the success of the T&D program? Fifth, is there an issue of succession planning that can be addressed? How? 4.12 Summary. The chapter discusses the difference in the concepts of learning, training and development, followed by the detailed discussion on different theories of learning and methods of training and development that can be adopted by the organizations. The contemporary issues like e-training, e-development and the need for succession planning are also elaborated. 4.13 Glossary. Augmented reality, a technology that involves computer generating image on the user's view of the real world. Debriefs, documentation of recent experiences that enables identification of what went well and what can be improved. Learning transfer, the extent to which learning on one task facilitates learning on a second task. Virtual reality, an immersive experience of a simulated real-life environment. Thank you for listening.